Hello there guys, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Chelsea for Wednesday the 25th of September. Amazingly, only a couple months now from Christmas. That's just a bit wild. It's going to start getting really cold and darker earlier. So yeah, we're nearly into winter, but something to look forward to. Today we're going to be talking about some different topics really. Chelsea striker, nice problem for Enzo Maresca, the Nkunku Jackson discourse, of course, Nkunku scoring a hat-trick against Barrow last night, and attention will quickly turn to Saturday's game against Brighton. But also there's been some reports again in terms of what Chelsea are going to be doing in the transfer window. If you can believe, there's more stuff to do in terms of trying to sign a striker. Will they actually go and pursue a striker after what has been objectively a strong start to the year in front of goal for Chelsea's attacking players? We'll get into that. And then Sky Sports reported before the game against Barrow that Chelsea are in talks specifically with Qatar Airways for the front of shirt sponsorship, along with some other airlines. So we'll delve into that because that has been a long-standing issue, hasn't it? A saga. We still don't have a front of shirt sponsor. Will that finally be tied up in the upcoming weeks, we assume? So please do hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button, please do share the show around, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you are listening on the podcast. I got some really nice comments recently from people, specifically through my Instagram, saying how much they enjoy listening to the show and taking it in and, you know, listening to it on a regular basis. So I really do appreciate anyone who supports this show. It really does mean the world to me, and it humbles me, and I want to keep on getting this show bigger and better and hopefully more enjoyable for those who do support it. I also want to say a massive thank you once again to the guys at Alloy Collectors. I've shouted this out several times. We'll keep doing it. Alloy Collectors, great Chelsea collectibles for the metal home shirts, which I really do think is something nice to put on your desk, to your shelf, maybe a collection of Chelsea stuff that you've already got being assembled, or maybe a gift. I just did mention Christmas. Maybe if you're thinking ahead to the festive period for a nice Chelsea gift for a Chelsea supporting friend or family member, I think it's a great gift to get as well. And you can get the retro shirts, you can get the modern shirts, and get them in different ways as well. You can use my discount code SonOfChelsea at checkout, 15% off. I think it's absolutely well worth your time. If you're looking to get something that is a little bit different, I think is good quality, doesn't take a lot of room, but is really thoughtful, and I think is worth having, and is customizable too. You can put the name of the player you want on the back as well. So I think it really is a good piece of memorabilia, and as well officially licensed by Chelsea too. But let's delve into it. I think firstly here with the striker discourse and conversation we've been having over the past week regarding Nicholas Jackson and Christopher Nkunku. Of course, Nkunku, if you haven't seen my review of the Barrow game, it's up there on the show. Please go and check it out. Of course, Nkunku scored a hat-trick. And after the game, Maresca was asked about kind of this problem that he has with Jackson and Nkunku scoring in the Conference League and the Carabao Cup, but Jackson scoring in the Premier League. Can both of them play together? So these were some of the quotes that he said after the game, where basically the big problem was, but you know, can he actually play them together on the same pitch? That is a big issue at the moment, especially when you consider the form of Jadon Sancho, Cole Palmer, Noni Madueke. So this is what he said. They're both doing fantastic, not only because they score, but because they work off the ball. The way they sacrifice for the team, this is very important for them. This is a nice problem when you have two strikers that continue to score. It's nice you can decide which one, and because they're in a good moment, we can use them. But when pressed whether it might be possible for them soon to start together, he added, it could be, but the problem is the defensive balance. We can think to place with Nicholas, Christo, Joao Felix, Cole Palmer, Noni, fantastic, but who is defending? Me and you. And I think that's a really interesting answer from Maresca, because I think it gives some insight into something we've discussed right on the show, is in terms of that defensive balance. I've talked about it a lot, and maybe in the very early weeks of the season, like the opening couple of games where we saw Chelsea's defensive fragility, and we also saw that during pre-season quite a bit. Maybe Maresca in recent weeks has come to the side that it's too much of a risk to have too many offensive players on the pitch. You know, I know a lot of people like to see it. They like to put it down on graphs and look at all these great attacking players you can put in a 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2, whatever you want to put. But actually, in terms of realistic balance within a team, it isn't that helpful, and it's in the Premier League, you're going to be punished on a regular basis. So it's a difficult one, and it maybe is why Maresca is looking at Nkunku more so as a competing centre forward than as a second striker, as a number 10, even as a wide player, which I'm not a fan of. I just don't think it's a suitable role, especially with the way Maresca wants those wide players to work. I think it's just much more suitable for Jadon Sancho, for a Noni Madueke, Pedro Neto to play that role, because they are just natural wingers. They're more comfortable receiving the ball out wide, being out wide, that being their position. Nkunku, as we know, likes to float in and around the box. He likes to score goals. He likes to be someone finishing chances, and that's just not his game. And I think if you throw him out there, I think he's going to get a little bit lost maybe, and you're actually losing something if you don't have a natural player there. But then the bigger concern is with Nkunku, the stats already showed this season and showed even last season, despite his injury problems, he's a goal scorer. He is someone that is going to impact games in a positive way for Chelsea. But we know Nicholas Jackson, I did my show earlier this week looking at the brilliance of Nicholas Jackson. His numbers as well are impressive. So it is a nice problem to have. I still will put this on record. I think that, and I tweeted this last night, I do think that Nkunku will be seen as important as Cole Palmer by the end of this season. How that looks in terms of a team unit, I'm not entirely sure. Now, just because Maresca's talking about defensive balance, that doesn't mean that Nkunku couldn't replace Madueke, Sancho. He couldn't become a second kind of striker, or couldn't be seen as someone that maybe floats around that number 10 position with Palmer. Of course, then you have to think about who's covering those wider positions, but it's a long old season, it really is. And I think if Nkunku keeps on dominating these lesser games, if you want to call it, there's going to come a point where he's going to make his way into the starting 11, whether that is at the expense of Nicholas Jackson. Because if Jackson keeps scoring, would you really want to drop him? Probably not. So then maybe it then is of threat probably to, I'd say, Noni or Jadon Sancho, really. So let me know your thoughts on that. But then Simon Phillips reported today that in terms of Chelsea's potential striker pursuit in the January window, and apparently Chelsea are set to make a decision on a new striker soon. This is via sources, and discussions are ongoing. One of those names, of course, is still Victor Osimhen, who Chelsea chased pretty hard at the end of the summer window to get. He eventually went to Galatasaray, but I still think that's one of those deals or situations that could be livened up again in the January window, because I just don't think that's the destination Osimhen really wanted, and there could be a financial reality where Chelsea go in and try and make that deal happen again. Listen, we're not thinking about transfers right now, but I think a kind of a longer term discourse in terms of a route that Chelsea could have taken, and they have taken, was to give Nicholas Jackson and give the options they already have more time to flourish and to marinate and to get better. And so far this season, they've been justified in that. I don't think by design, because Chelsea clearly throughout the summer were trying to sign a striker. It's not, we can't pull back and revise history here. Like, Chelsea clearly were trying to sign someone. It's just that they couldn't get it over the line. So now they've got what they have, and I think that was not the worst decision, because Jackson wanted to see him be developed. Nkunku, we know, can play a central role. You've got the goals of Cole Palmer. We've had the goals so far from Noni Madueke. Hopefully more players will chip in as the season goes on. But it's a big question, right? Like, if these players keep performing at this level, there really isn't much of a point to sign someone big. There always is that clamour. I always think that obviously the January window is so much more defined than even the summer window by your form. I mean, it really is, as we know as Chelsea fans. If Chelsea reach that point of the season and we are doing strong, we're playing well, we're comfortably in the top four, maybe there's even like wild ambitions of a title race, and Chelsea continue winning and scoring, and Nkunku's playing well, Jackson's playing well, we're progressing in the Carabao Cup, we're progressing in the FA Cup and the Conference League, there won't be a conversation. There probably won't be that much of a clamour. There'll maybe be other areas in the squad some people feel still need strengthening, or you just wait till the summer where you can probably get better targets. But as we know of history, if Chelsea is struggling, we're not scoring goals, we're losing games, Jackson's form goes off, maybe he gets injured, and Nkunku's form goes off, maybe he gets injured, the team doesn't look as cohesive, it's going to become a very different conversation. But that doesn't mean that the club, I guess, changed tact, completely, because I think already it's been proven that there is quality within this squad. At the moment, it's very easy. Listen, it's an easy win at the moment to make the argument stick with Jackson and Nkunku because they're playing very well. The goals themselves, the stats themselves are clear. Jackson looks like a very good centre forward and looks like he's only getting better at Chelsea. Nkunku, we know the clear talent, the ruthless finishing inside the 6-yard box. It's a long season, but I still just wonder whether it should be a priority. You know, you made that choice, you didn't get that player. Give the season the full chance now for these players to develop. That's my fault. Let me know yours in the comments below. But the second story is regarding the front of shirt sponsor. I mean, it's ridiculous. We're nearly in on October. October is next week, and still Chelsea do not have a front of shirt sponsor. We were in this similar boat last year. I think it may actually be, at this rate, a little bit later than when Infinite Athlete finally got on the front of the shirt. So it's actually a little bit worse than last year. But Sky Sports reporting that Chelsea are in talks with Qatar Airways as the front of shirt sponsor. This backed up by Lucas Basic, who I know has reported on this before in terms of Chelsea sponsorship. Apparently last week Qatar Airways also signed a massive 6-year Champions League deal worth around 70 million a year. Kaveh Solokol for Sky reports that the club is still negotiating with other major airlines, and according to his source, the club is in contact with Rihadi Air. We've heard about this before. That's Saudi Arabia, and Turkish Airlines. For the Turkish carrier, it'd be a second chance to become a shirt sponsor. In 2015, as far back as that, Turkish Airlines had already signed an initial agreement with Chelsea around 25 million, which ultimately collapsed due to a better offer from Yokohama Tires. So we could have completely had a separate timeline where the Yokohama era did not happen. Of course, if you remember, we won a Premier League title with Yokohama. I think that might have been their first year, wasn't it? So this needs to be sorted sooner rather than later. Now, there are going to be some concerns and I think some pushback in terms of Qatar Airways. Obviously, when we think about the Qatar World Cup and a lot of the discourse around, human rights, workers' rights, LGBT, and those things should not be swept under the rug. I think that the bigger conversation, of course, is just still how are we here? And it's amazing that, things are actually feeling a bit more positive about Chelsea, rightly, because we're winning games again. But off the pitch, the fact that this still hasn't been sorted out and we're nearly in October, we're in the UK weather feeling, it feels already like autumn, to be honest, with coats coming back out again. So maddening that this has taken so long, but maybe, just maybe, we're nearly at the end of this saga. Let me know your thoughts, because some people have already kind of put out some art online about how Qatar Airways would look on this season's shirts. To be honest, they don't look that bad, but for Chelsea's point of view, and as well, it has to be a secure contract. We can't be here in 12 months again where Chelsea end the season with one sponsorship and then go into the summer where it's elongated again, where we walk into another year without a front of shirt sponsor. It looks comical. It already looks farcical, but it just, for a club that wants to be seen as a commercially successful one, this has to be the end of it now, where Chelsea secure a front of shirt sponsor and it stays with the club for a number of years, as it always did in the past. So there we go. So that is it for today's show. We'll obviously, as we get to tomorrow, as we get to Friday, we'll start to look towards that Brighton game, which is going to be an interesting test given they're unbeaten so far this season, but obviously Chelsea in good form. So check out the content already on the channel this week, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.